Ooh, shit, don't build scouts. Fuck that.
Yeah, they're a bit of a waste.
But this is the thing, a pair of veteran Terminators will rinse anything. We've kind of thermopolied them here. What's this bullshit?
Oh, it's a killer can, so it's like a really primitive dreadnought. I don't know if we'll be able to beat that. Like, he's smashing our chaplain to bits. Let's get Thule into it.
Thule will make light work of him. Look at that.
I hope so.
So it's... Yeah. Let's get the dreadnoughts focusing on it. That's the nice thing, now we have 2 dreadnoughts. Oh, we've broken Thule's morale! Oh no.
What the hell? That should be possible.
We'll get the killer cannon, it'll be fine.
Maybe we are going to lose.
Absolutely not. Stop
We're
this
like,
heresy.
oh yeah, Orks are so easy. Yeah, we can totally
yeah, we're
take
fine,
some
see.
Still broken?
Technically, yes.
It's a weird bit of like British slang, but like apparently like the name for orcs who are like elite orcs, like bigger, stronger, tougher orcs, are usually like in the retinue of an orcish warlord are called knobs.
Yeah, I was like knobs and gits always was like, is this deliberate? Like, do they know what? Yep, they do. It turns out.
Yeah, Games Workshop's a very British property. So Games Workshop, the company who make Warhammer, they're based in Nottingham. They're like, I don't think really got 100 employees who work there, and like they're very British, which is nice.
Like Flash Gits always made me laugh. There we go, we're fine now. Oh, well, he's right up in there, Thule. I know they called him Thor because he's swinging around a massive fucking hammer.
I mean, it's a thunder.
Look at that, he knocked a Vortrok back! He's still broken, but he's fighting nonetheless, because that's what a true warrior of the Imperium does.
Now you're getting it, Doctor.
Yeah, you're fucking loving this.
You command in the name of the Emperor. Nice start. I like it when we kill a bunch.
Who's hitting me here?
Oh, they'll have tank busters who are like an infiltrator unit who fire rockets.
The listening person, not detect.
Let's get our librarian down there. He should get the job done.
I see him.
There they are. Just obviously slightly out of range.
That's fine.
I like it when we kill obscene numbers of like Xenos races for absolutely no losses.
Yeah, that's what you miss with the Necrons.
Or very few losses. I think we lost maybe a couple of Marines in there.
Actually, yeah, we didn't lose a lot with the Necrons, actually, of individual Marines, even on their stronghold, but that's because I was playing very stepwise by design.
We talked about this off-camera viewership. I'm glad that we were able to talk about Julius Caesar and Napoleon and stuff, because I don't know that much about Necrons relative to other 40k races. But don't worry, I know shit tons about Orks, so that's nice.
Excellent. I hired you for a reason.
Yeah. The only person in my life who's going to hire me for my knowledge of Warhammer 40k, but I won't lie to you, viewership. I've applied numerous times to work for Games Workshop, and they've never ever given me a job. Yeah, if any representatives from Games Workshop are watching this, please give me a job.
And if you're looking for a statistician as well, I'm always kicking around.
Maybe so viewership, in order to get the Doctor and I jobs that we would obviously enjoy a lot more, this video's got to get like 10 million views. So please like, share, subscribe, fire out there. Please make sure the Doctor and I get to work for Games Workshop. That'd be incredible. I think it's a long shot, but you never know.
Hey, if you don't ask, you'll never know.
Exactly. We're so thirsty for likes and.
Don't use the word thirsty. That's so much worse.
Thirsty with a U. It sounds so much.
You need to stop.
Oh, it's filthy, isn't it? It's really
You're
filthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually am a bit sorry about that.
And you are right to be.
Yeah. Sorry for my nerd thirst.
Right, well, at least we've got a nice defensible position now. I like that we've got a listening post and a Terminator at each, cliff.
Yeah, well, what more do you want?
Yeah, this is going to be a really hard position to take. Not that they ever really do try and take positions. The fact of it is, usually in any mission in this game, basically, if you survive the first 10 minutes, you're probably fine.
Yeah.
The enemy, once they kind of lose the initiative, they can't counterattack well.
I like that they make it basically necessary to have a robust honor guard before you can take these, though.
I remember literally, so in when I was literally testing if this game worked well enough under something other than Windows XP, when I was like, we were preparing to record this series, I like did a quick thing. I was like, oh, I can strike at the tower stronghold from here. Went for it with no honor guard. And it was just like 5 squadrons of fire warriors just turned up and just ripped me to shreds within like minutes.
I feel a little bad that we might not get to fight the Tau in this campaign, but like in our abortive first attempt, they kicked our asses.
At least that series is still there, so yeah.
It is. Like, maybe go back and watch that viewership, or if you just joined us for this video, this is probably going to go well. Those early videos did not go well. So
that is one way of putting it.
Yeah, like we need
Captain
not speak
understatement over here.
we need not speak brother Captain understatement.
Yeah.
Let's not speak of that.
At least we can fairly peacefully just get teched up here, really.
They do attack us more vigorously eventually, so they'll send like tanks and things against us.
I think we're gonna, for the first time here, play around with flamers.
Oh,
I feel like they work well against orcs.
But let's go
Not
for it.
Not quite as well as the heavy bolter, but there you go.
Why the hell not?
Look at this green nonsense. Oh, there we go. They're coming in. Right, let's send the flamer boys in. Well, it makes it sound like I'm an orc, but you know what I mean.
The flamer boys.
Brother, you get the flamer. The heavy flamer. There we go. Wow, we broke them very quickly. I suppose that's what flamethrowers do.
Yeah, I've never really used flamers en masse. Like, obviously, the heavy bolters are just great, and it's fun to watch them spool up and annihilate orcs. But
that's the thing. I think against massed infantry,
they're
they're best against like longer range massed infantry. You know what? Keeping orcs at range is pretty handy as well.
Let's go with the flamethrowers then and see how they do.
We'll see how it does. Yeah, I feel comfortable experimenting on this one because this is hopefully not going to be. No, I wouldn't experiment on the Necron mission. Put it that way.
No, this one is, in my experience, a little bit easier. I lost my mind when those like monoliths appeared at the end of the Necron mission. That was it. That was fucking intense.
Yeah, I've only just recovered from the sweats from that. And hopefully by the time the viewers seen this, they've seen my wonderfully restored footage and doesn't need to know what happened to it. But for the viewers' benefit, I'll put up a video of what the actual footage looks like. And it's going to be horrific, because it was some flashy nonsense, because I fucked up and I have an issue with my new monitor, put it that way.
Maybe that'll be on your screen now, viewership. Again, you cannot trust the will of machines. Trust instead in the will of the God Emperor. Speaking of God Emperors, I want to segue bizarrely to real-world politics. So I learned today that Vladimir Putin has a yearly talk show.
Wow.
So like every year, Putin will do like an Ask Me Anything on Russian television. And like live, well, supposedly live, I'm sure they doctor it, but like supposedly he will go on the air and regular Russians can just like phone in and be like, so hello, like Vladimir Putin, most powerful man in the world. My neighbor is causing me hassle. What do you advise I do? And
like an agony aunt kind of situation.
Yeah, and he answers them. Like lots of the time, it's really strange, like very domestic situations.
Yeah.
So there was a woman. Obviously, this year is mostly about coronavirus. But there was a woman like who phoned in to be like, so my boss wants me to get the vaccine, and I don't want to get the vaccine because I'm fearful of the effects on my health, blah blah blah. And like Putin was just, it is illegal, comrade. You may not be forced. You may not be.
Right, no, fuck off. He did not say comrade.
No, it's not. This is a weird misconception about Russian politics, that people think that like Putin's government is a communist government.
Well, they're thinking they're still the Soviet Union and it's actually 1995.
Yeah, but like people think that they think Russia, they think communism.
Yeah.
Putin is notoriously not a communist. So
yeah.
the Communist Party in Russia is like his biggest opposition, quote unquote. There isn't really an opposition in Russia, but like insofar as there is any opposition, his opposition is the Communist Party.
Yeah.
But his party is something completely different. They're like the Central Unity Party or something, some nonsense like that.
Yeah. Fun fact: it's a relatively badly kept secret, but it's somewhat known as well. Vladimir Putin speaks very good, almost fluent English. He just chooses not to most of the time.
I'm ashamed to admit this on the air, but like I really like Putin as a pop cultural phenomenon. Like I think it's hilarious and baffling that this man exists in the 21st century. Like,
it more tells you about the country Russia than about Putin in any way. That Russia is mad.
Yeah, I went to a lecture on Russian politics, like a kind of free lecture hosted at the university that I work at, and in that lecture, there was a guy, a professor of Russian politics, who was like, so in the West we have actually no evidence to suggest that Putin has deliberately rigged an election. He's done like bits and pieces, like he's forced political candidates to step down, and he's put pressure and arrested some of his political rivals, but he has never, as far as the West is aware, actually directly interfered with the ballot. So like he's never like fabricated.
Yeah, but no one actually does
result.
that. Like, no one's really, like putting fake votes in there. They're just making it so that you can stand against me. Absolutely, you might get fucking your ass poisoned, but you can do it because then it looks free and fair, which is important.
Yeah, I mean, we'll never know. I get in our lifetime when we never know what the situation is over there. But Putin's popularity seems to spike when he champions the cause of like Russian power on the global stage.
Yeah.
It's like the highest recorded point of Putin's like premiership was when he invaded the Ukraine. Again, which is not okay because like developed nations should not be invading one another in the 21st century. I mean, no nation should be invading one another ever in the 21st century. Full stop. But when he invaded the Ukraine and like seized the Crimean province, that's Putin's highest ever approval rating in Russia.
Yeah, the US has similar things. Bush had mad approval ratings when he invaded Iraq. It's like people like nationalism. Shockingly,
it's weird, isn't it? Like I think we have spoken this in the stream before. Like we like to think of ourselves, oh, we're so developed and advanced as a culture now, and it's like, oh, we would never conscience like might makes right. But then all evidence suggests that actually,
we absolutely do.
As a culture, like yeah, exactly. We still value conquest, and like if our leaders win things, we support them.
Yeah, like Putin has a lot of support in Russia because he's viewed as strong. Like, it's simple as that.
There was a poll conducted, like of ordinary Russians, and they said that, like, actually, my democratic rights don't mean that much to me. What matters to me is that like we have a strong leader who can champion Russian interests.
A lot of the US has a similar viewpoint, actually. When people are like actually not so fussed about defending democracy as ideas of freedom, which don't necessarily tie in one-to-one with democracy.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about democracy as a concept sometimes, but yeah, it's...
Though I don't like the man, he does have some good lines. To quote Churchill, the best argument against democracy is a 10-minute conversation with the average voter.
Yep. And then what's the wonderful line where he says, democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others. It's attributed to Churchill. I don't know if he actually said that.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of those. Oh, look at this. Fuck you. Fuck these greenskins.
Walking into walls. Our flavors are really good, but they're not going to touch that killer can.
Yeah, but all the heavy emplacements are. It's more just you can actually barely see Aristates among just a mess of orc corpses, like piled like 3 high.
The Emperor brings the cleansing flame of mankind across the galaxy. Master of 1,000,000 worlds and herald of a 10 billion flamer army.
Here's one for you. What is the only head of state today that uses the English title Emperor?
Oh, that is.
There's only one anymore.
An English head of state.
They're not English.
But they use the English word emperor.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a good one. I think it's got to be like a former British Commonwealth state. So I'm gonna go like, is it the Sultan of Brunei?
No, because that's a sultan.
Yeah, but but like as we discussed, you could be like Queen Victoria, Empress of India, as in you're a queen and an empress.
No, it's not. It is a former kind of like. It's actually a former colonial power, as in they once had a substantial empire, and that's why they use the title Emperor. They don't anymore, but still use the title.
A former colonial power. I know that the Dutch have a royal family, but they're kings.
Still
and queens.
king, yeah.
Yeah.
Queen. I know it's king again.
I know that Napoleon historically was an emperor, but I know that there is no French monarchy anymore because the revolution happened and they cut
their president as the head of state.
Yeah, and they cut all their heads off. So that can't be France.
It's not European.
It's not European, but they still use the English style, and it's a former colonial power.
Might help if I tell you that in their native language...
Oh, it's Japan! It's definitely Japan.
Yep, Japan is the only country that stars an emperor, though the Japanese translation actually is heavenly sovereign, is the Japanese word.
I read a very detailed article recently about this, where apparently there's a real problem in the Japanese royal family because there are not enough of them.
Yeah, and the current emperor certainly has daughters.
But
interesting.
Apparently, it's still... you cannot have a Japanese empress. Like, they're still quite...
You can. They've had empresses who reigned in their own rights in the past. They just...
But not in modern times. Like, that's the thing.
No.
Like, it's a very patriarchal line of succession, isn't it? Like, only men can be emperor, and currently, like you say, there are no men who can inherit.
Yeah, it's an interesting case. Because they have the whole. Then they use the title emperor in English, but their actual naming system is very complicated. Because much like the Master of Mankind in 40k, the ruling emperor is literally only ever referred to in Japanese as the emperor. He doesn't have a name or a title or anything like that. He is just the emperor.
Oh. Wow.
And obviously he has an English name. Like the current one is Naruhito, I think. Certainly the previous one was Hirohito, and he was an interesting one because he abdicated, which doesn't happen much. But
okay, cool.
I got a lot of knowledge on Japan's thing, yeah.
I think I know where this comes from, but carry on. I'm fascinated. Continue.
Yeah, so when the emperor dies, or what's it called, or resigns, abdicates, only then do they get a name, which is different to their name. The period where they ruled is then named after their death name, basically.
Oh, so what is their death name? Is it like a
different one?
A stylistic thing?
Yeah. So basically, I can't remember what he's called. The emperor at the time of the Second World War.
I know that Tojo was their.
Yeah, no, the emperor was something. But basically, he became, after his death, he was referred to as Emperor Showa, and then that period where the emperor was known as the Showa period.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's a name that's never used for him in life.
I know there's a really fascinating phenomenon in Japanese history during the Second World War where the military council that was governing Japan after the atomic bombs were dropped in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, they had a high council basically to say should we continue fighting, and the military government was completely split, so it was deadlocked as to what they should do, and it's one of the only times in living memory that the Japanese imperial family stepped in to break the deadlock.
Yeah, which they're technically allowed to do, it just never happens, basically.
Yeah, also interestingly, a bit about British history. So Prince Philip, as in the Queen's former husband, former because he is now dead. Quite recently, I have very mixed feelings about the royal family, but Prince Philip is a fascinating individual. Not a great guy. Did a lot of really.
I've definitely told it on
things.
YouTube, but have I told you the story of when I met him?
You have?
Yeah,
yeah,
I thought so.
I think we talked about it on one of the Lego streams.
I think so too. But yeah, go on.
So he's dead, but he was actually he was present at the signing of the surrender of Japan in in 45. He was the most senior British military officer in the Pacific Theater.
Yeah.
So he just turned up and was when they surrendered, he wasn't actively part of the negotiations, but he was the most senior British officer around, and he just kind of stood there.
There's a really interesting argument about when the former emperor abdicated, because basically he was just I'm an old man, I don't feel capable of discharging my duties anymore, I want to just pass it to my son while I'm still, with it. There was a whole thing about whether he was allowed to do that. Because as part of the war reparations, there are a lot of rules in Japan's constitution about limiting the emperor's personal kind of power. One of the weird things is the emperor had to officially proclaim that he was not part divine and stuff like that. But then there's a question of, does the emperor choosing to abdicate give too much power to the emperor? Was basically the discussion, which is fascinating in its own way, of just are we giving him too much agency and independent power to even choose that he resigns? So in the end, he basically had to say, I kind of want to resign, and Parliament made and passed an act saying, okay, we'll abdicate the emperor. It still wasn't his choice, officially.
I remember as an undergraduate, because I think I mentioned the channel before, I studied philosophy, which is wankery and pretentious, but one of the weird logical problems is that a perceived philosophical good is maximization of personal freedom and personal autonomy. So the idea being the more decision-making power and the more options you have, the better.
Yeah.
But what if someone chooses to relinquish their freedom and sell themselves into slavery? That's obviously an additional option, but the choice to make yourself a slave obviously limits your personal freedom, but then should you have the option...
The freedom to choose, yeah.
Exactly. So, like, should you have the philosophical freedom to surrender your freedoms? That seems almost self-defeating.
That's really interesting.
I mean, I personally think yes, because I think autonomy is intrinsically good, but there are strong arguments to the contrary that are very persuasive.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that just I don't think there's going to ever be a good answer to it. I think you can always... A good arguer can make a compelling argument in either direction.
I had a fascinating philosophy lecture very early on in my university career where my lecturer walked into the room and he stood for about 30 seconds while we all kind of waited on him. He hadn't even fired up his PowerPoint presentation yet, and he just kind of stood there in front of us. He's like, I don't think babies have rights. And
Discuss.
Like, everyone just kind of leaned in and was like, okay, go on.
It might not surprise you to learn that when we first met... So people don't know, the Bard... Oh, there we go. Destroy Head Crusher, Banaz. Yeah, let's do that. For people who don't know, the Bard knew the sprite before I did. Didn't introduce us, but you did the same undergrad with her.
I did, yeah.
I was basically...
our boys, they shouldn't be there.
What? Who's here? Oh, they went round this way, the bell ends. Oh, no. Well, let's word of the Emperor then, so they survive,
yeah.
So on my first meeting of the Sprite, I was asked various philosophical conundrums to see how I would answer them.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
And yeah, the one that stuck with me is it immoral for someone to have consensual, non-procreative sex with a cousin?
Again, like, because like we actually, I remember the very lecture where this problem was like proposed, where it's like it feels icky, right?
But technically, yeah,
because
it's not dodgy, sure. Moral, kind of not.
Like, I mean, because the really disturbing thing is like if you produce some kind of mutant offspring.
Yeah,
right?
but obviously that's why you say non-procreative.
Yeah, I remember this was posed in various philosophy lectures that Sprite and I were both in, and
yeah.
You've got to really think to like, why is that icky? And like, you've got to really.
I say yeah, it's about challenging your own.
To clarify, it is icky. That shouldn't happen.
but it's still technically speaking a moral problem. Yeah.
Before the Doctor and I go on record as being like weird people, like, that's icky. That shouldn't be a thing. But like, you've got to really think critically before you drill down into why is that not okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. It's an exercise in just thinking about why you think something, which is essentially philosophy, in short, is thinking about why you think.
Philosophy is distinct as a subject because it has no distinct subject matter.
Yeah. See, I've been, honestly, like, the more I've gone into, like, statistics and data science, the more, like, I think philosophy and its kind of core concepts should be taught more readily to people who are planning a career in the sciences. Because a lot of what I do is just, like, thinking about ideas and thinking about, like, logic and reasoning.
Yep.
That's basically what statistics is, so...
This is the thing
look
about
at this. Oh, burn you. Burn enemies of the Imperium!
Run into the fire! I feel... I'm not actually convinced about the Flamers, Doctor. I think
no, partly because I think the guys with the back with the flamers aren't closing the distance properly.
Yeah.
And so they're standing at the back and flaming. But, well, we've learnt this. The important thing is we learned by experimentation.
Ever the scientist.
Oh, you know me.
Which is what we were just talking about. But yeah, I remember like so most sciences relative to like the discipline of philosophy are like in their absolute infancy.
Yeah.
So like physics, when like what we now understand to be physics began as like something called natural philosophy.
That was, a couple of 100 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like the discipline of like psychology arose from like, something called philosophy of mind.
Yeah. And
like so on and so forth. Like Aristotle wouldn't have described himself as like, or Pythagoras wouldn't have described himself as a physicist. He would have said like, I'm a philosopher. He wouldn't even describe himself as like, oh, I'm a mathematician. It's like, no, I do philosophy.
Yeah.
It's just that like disciplines that spiral off into other more robust modern sciences were originally branches of philosophy, or at least conventionally in Western thought.
Well, yeah, it's the whole thing of it. It's like that when you think of philosophy, it's basically like the art of reasoning and knowing how to think about things. That's what a lot of science is, really, and that's the hard part of science. Like actually physically running an experiment is straightforward, but thinking about what do my answers mean, and far more importantly, am I asking the right questions? At its core, that's philosophy, not what is modernly thought of as science.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite like distinctions. So like, you know, the term scientist actually came a lot later than the practice of modern science.
Yeah, I can believe
It's like
that.
it came up as a joke. There was a meeting of the Royal Society where someone gave a speech and they were like, well, we're like artists, but we practice science. Maybe we should be called scientists. And everyone was like, oh, that'll never catch on.
It was like, it's one of my career highlights, because now I'm basically no longer pursuing a career in academic science. I'm a doctor, that's enough, and I'm going into, science that actually matters.
Oh, hang on, whoa, hang to the south. I think we're getting a sail.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear about your career projections, but like, fucking hell, we should do something with this.
We'll be fine. Where's that predator gone? There we go, it's fine. We're fine.
Oh,
I think just orcs just look worse on the map than they are, really. But yeah, so I'm almost certainly not going into kind of like academic science, but still one of the highlights for me will be getting my first paper published in Proceedings of the Royal Society, because that feels like such a like Victorian scientist thing.
I understand that like, the Royal Society isn't necessarily hasn't always been a force for good with science. I think that they held back many advancements. And, like, they're quite elitist and prestigious. But like, nevertheless, it's cool that you're getting a paper published there.
Yeah, I mean, they are a well-respected journal today. Whether journals are the be-all and end-all is a whole different argument, which I'm not getting into here. But
we ought to do a deep dive into like we should play more like an explicitly sciencey game, so you can do your thing. Because like, I've got various.
Dude, that's like all of my solo stuff, to be honest. So.
Oh, okay. As long as
like,
people are.
That's the thing. Like,
as long as you're fighting the good fight somewhere.
Your average viewer will absolutely know. I'm a scientist, I have a PhD, and probably know what it's in and what I've worked on. You can probably, if you didn't know who I was, as the viewers kind of don't, you can probably almost triangulate who I am from just, like, knowing what I've studied where is a fairly...
You're one of, like, 4 people in the world who's published in these areas at this time.
I'm a fairly... Yeah, you can figure it out. Now the map gets a bit asymmetrical.
Hey, viewership, the doctor's name is...
Very good.
Yeah, you get to go bleep that out now.
I absolutely will. Though the other day I did answer a comment while drunk under my normal YouTube account, which is just under my name. But
dreadful.
I still one of our long-time viewers. I don't mind if she knows anyway.
And speaking of long-time viewers, or even short-time viewers, if you're still with us, viewership, and you're having fun, we do like it when you post up in the comments. I like it particularly because I get to have a conversation with you. I'm relatively new to the channel, relative to the other gentlemen, so it's just nice to interact with you and like chat. So tell us what you're enjoying about the series. Critique our strategy. Tell us, like, would you rather we did this as another race? Like, have you played Dawn of War? Do you play 40k? Just chat to us in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
I think that was one of the things I was probably most nervous about with this series, is the fact that one way or the other we were going to have to like properly commit to one race for 30, 40 episodes or something absurd like this. And it's like that's the only issue, is it's just like I was concerned that it would get a bit repetitive, just having like, we know by now off the top of our heads how the Space Marine tech tree goes, and it's just the case of like getting that up and running and doing that. I was worried it would get repetitive. It weirdly hasn't so far.
I think we're being in this current recording session, which we spread over like dozens of episodes for the viewership. But like, I think we're doing a good job of broadening the conversation out to like talking about warfare and talking about like, oh,
fine, it's just a cutscene. Oh, my heart. Yeah, we've turned them.
Some of the orcs have turned against him.
But yeah, no, so for the viewers' reference, we started this session. The last session ended with us defeating Chaos, so everything with a brief early fight against Chaos, a couple of fights against Orks and Necrons, it has all been tonight for us, so...
One of the things I'm struggling with the channel is like, because it can be weeks or months between recording a session and it actually going on the air. It's tough to remember what I've already said. Like,
yeah, we've had a bit of repetition with this. Ain't been too bad, all things considered. But, yeah, we had some of that where you've told, like... stories about the
Terminator who got stood on.
Terminator who got stood on.
I've told like 4 times.
What was the one today you told as well? As in today that I was editing. The story about what are they called? The guys the Imperial Guard who view like themselves as bullets.
The Death Corps of Krieg.
That was it. Yeah. That one's been told on a number of occasions.
Oh, okay. Sorry, viewership. I repeat myself. It's tough to remember what you've said.
The fact is that would only be notable as well if viewers were marathoning this, and I don't know if that's the case.